I would suggest we are upholding a principle, and that principle is that when Islam says no, the country kneels down and accepts it. Lumps off Birmingham, and it's not exclusively Birmingham, that are not Britain in any meaningful sense, where they have their own Sharia courts, where they have their own language, where they have their own clothing.
How do you get from banning Maccabi Tel Aviv fans, which supports a genocidal state, with Islam? The fans were banned from watching the team play at Aston Villa. The comedy pair Andre Walker and Ash Goulder speak with the president of Aston Villa Jewish Supporters Club, Andrew Fox. Andrew, who recently said he is sad to see his club turn into political football, when he himself later in this video self-confessing in doing a master's and PhD on the Gaza campaign. Don't make me laugh. Let's take a look.
There's something that we pondered before you came on, which is this. There are two reasons why the police might say this is impossible. It could be that they genuinely lack the resource and genuinely are afraid that they would be defeated by what we're calling a jihadi gang. The other thing is that actually they're just not very keen on upsetting that group of people.
Yeah, they're also infiltrated like every single institution.
Yeah, so whilst they could actually stop them, actually the footage wouldn't be that great, and it's easier to kick in the Jews. Now, I imagine you don't know the nature of the threat that these people have posed, but what is your instinct about which of those the police have gone for?
Well, actually, I spoke about this tonight to a senior police commander who often does West Ham, so they know all about how security at football games work. And the fact is, there will be intelligence that we're not privy to. There will be, challenges around the streets of Aston. This is a traditional Victorian football ground. It's surrounded by terraced houses, that loads of interlocking streets. Very, very difficult to lock down from a public order perspective, which I can talk in detailed ways about as a former military public order commander.
Yeah, we'd like that.
It is a policing challenge. It is a public order challenge. But the simple fact is that are we upholding a principle, or are we just choosing the easy option? And
we are. Well, Andy,
the principle should be that if you want to go to a football match in Birmingham, you can go
without fear or favour. Is the vow of the police.
Andy, I would suggest we are upholding a principle, and that principle is that when Islam says no, the country kneels down and accepts it.
Yeah, and that's incredibly concerning. That's incredibly concerning. What sort of a future are we creating with this kind of decision? Yeah.
Russia remains banned from participating in all men, women and youth football. So should the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans. The same rules should be applied across the board. The team shouldn't even be playing, never mind banning the fans. Andre says there's two reasons why fans were banned. One, lack of police resources, and second, upsetting that group of people which he referred to earlier as jihadi gangs. Let's remind people the chants the Maccabi fans said when they played in Amsterdam. Let the IDF win, death to Arabs, pulling down Palestinian flags and rioting. After the match, a very different story. They left with the little tails dangling between their legs. Andrew says if you want to go to a football match, you should be allowed to. They were banned by West Midlands police, not by Muslims. If we're talking about kneeling to Muslims, up here are the attacks on Muslims in the last 2 months following the Tommy Robinson march last month.
Ayub Khan's central message: Birmingham is Islamic territory, and you will behave according to our religion, or you will be schooled over it. If the chief constable comes down with the Jewish fans, the chief constable will have his head kicked in, because this is a Muslim area, this is Muslim land, this is Muslim territory, and Islamic rules will apply here. And if you don't like that, then we're going to beat it into you.
Yeah, and look, the MP we're talking about was elected on a Gaza ticket. This is a Gaza MP. He's not the MP who's looking after the interests of the good people of Birmingham and Perry Barr. He's an MP who was elected specifically on the back of the worldwide Hamas disinformation campaign about the Gaza genocide hoax. So that's the febrile atmosphere that we're trying to bring Israeli football fans into. And if we can't protect them off the basis of that horrific disinformation campaign, then we have absolutely failed the very basic functions of what it means to run a civilised country.
And a lot of Villa fans are saying they will wear a Star of David t-shirt, even a Maccabi Tel Aviv shirt, or they may even give their seat up if there's any Tel Aviv fans there. What are you going to do? I've seen that you've tweeted you're going to wear a Star of David t-shirt.
I'm going with Josh Howie, GB News presenter. He's going to wear his Star of David. I'm not Jewish, so it would be inappropriate for me.
It would take too long to convert you by the time of the fixture. It takes a little snip as well.
I understand it can be painful.
But what I am going going to do, what I am going to do, is wear my Aston Villa shirt and stand very proudly next to my fellow British Jews and my fellow.
I think there was a Jewish founder.
Absolute nonsense. That was not Ayub Khan's central message. He clearly stated in his interview with Sky News that he supports the decision by West Midlands Police, and then points out the priority is the safety of the neighbourhood. He points out Russia was banned and so should the Maccabi Tel Aviv. Andrew then points out Ayub was elected on the back of the Gaza campaign. It's funny because Andrew himself is the president of Aston Villa Jewish supporters, and he isn't even Jewish himself. I must say this is very bizarre, but the slander in this video is on another level.
I have studied this campaign in detail for 2 years. I'm writing my PhD on the Gaza campaign. I have a master's in psychology focusing on disinformation. And what we have seen over the last 2 years is the most incredible state-backed disinformation campaign coming out of Gaza. Primarily Qatar, but backed up by bots from Moscow, from Tehran, from Islamabad in Pakistan, who have been artificially boosting this narrative of Israeli war crimes and Israeli horrors in Gaza. Look, Gaza is actually the least casualty intensive war of the 21st century, believe it or not. Every other war outstrips the number of deaths in Gaza.
It's being studied, isn't it, in urban warfare studies to show to see how you can keep the innocent people death toll so low.
But
Correct.
Andy,
Yeah, Andrew, go for it.
yeah, Andy, what frustrates me is this. Right, I'm going to come straight out with it. Look, at the end of the day, isn't the central problem here that there are lumps of Birmingham, and it's not exclusively Birmingham, that are not Britain in any meaningful sense, where they have their own Sharia courts, where they have their own language, where they have their own clothing, where they have their own traditions,
Their own rules.
They have their own policing, because we know that. They have their own. There's multiple
Birmingham
things.
is a forerunner to a place near you.
In reality, Birmingham, or at least parts of it, is what David Starkey calls a tribal area. That is to say that it's much more similar to places perhaps in South Africa where they have areas that are ruled.
Andrew may be doing his Masters and PhD, but we have a Masters and PhD in common sense. The Gaza campaign is a genocide, and I find it ridiculous that he's come on this interview to rebuttal Tel Aviv fans, not making it about politics, but everything he said was political, including being president of a Jewish association and doing a Masters and PhD on the Gaza campaign. Anyway guys, thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Support me by liking and subscribing, and I'll see you all on the next video. Peace out.